Scoffers, we're back. We're under the sea again, 2,000 atmospheres, and we have another round 2 game. The top right, we have the red Protoss. It is Will. And in the bottom left, it's the yellow Terran. It's StanleyR. Now, I can't help but notice that this first worker is immediately running. So this is probably going to be immediately put the pylon down, please. Oh, we're going to go for the low ground wall off, which probably fine. I don't see necessarily an issue with it, but you're probably going to... I'm sure, I trust Will to know how to wall this off. I'm not going to question it. I'm sure it's fine. Meanwhile, we're going to see a high ground wall off from StanleyR, which is, what do you expect, to be honest, from the Terran here. Down comes the gas, a little early on the gas. You usually expect to see it paired with the barracks. Seeing it down before the barracks, that's unusual. Okay, this might mean something, it might not. As for the Protoss, much more natural gas timing. The gas coming down with the first production structure. Now that is a gap, so if you're trying to wall off, unless the unit is going here, like, you know, the Zealot, then, we'll have to see. Again, I trust Will. I'm sure Will will be able to wall off here. Anywho, so, with anything else but of note happening, this SCV is either going to put another supply depot down, or they're going to put the expander. Probably the expander, I should hope so. Any second now. 400 minerals is coming very, very soon. Any second now, Stanley? Yep, okay, here comes the expand. And now I expect to see in production an orbital command and a marine. That is usually, there's the marine, orbital command very soon. I imagine once this work is done building, we're going to see an orbital command. Meanwhile, side core coming down for Will. Yeah, Will knows how to wall this off. Perfect. Yeah, that's a brilliant wall off. I'm not sure again what exactly how to wall off on the low ground these maps. So this is good. Nice job. Good time for the side core. I've seen a lot of players in the tournament not put the side core down early enough. And, yeah, still no orbital command from the Terran, which is somewhat concerning. There is a supply block for Stanley, so that's going to get resolved shortly, but kind of sloppy getting supply block this early. You really don't want that to happen. As it is, Will is expanding now, and isn't supply block, so they can build things as they wish. They're chrono boosting out their Stalker, which is going to be their first unit. And they're also trying to chrono boost out this warp gate, which, you know, makes sense. Warp gate is the most important upgrade. You got to get it as soon as you can. Will has done that, so good job. Meanwhile, still no orbital command. Please build an orbital command. Also, why do you have less? Okay, I imagine they're rallied back, right? No, Stanley, you haven't rallied your dudes back to the minerals, so make sure you send them back manually. Otherwise, you're gonna have idle workers like this one. Because now you have, like, you know, this should be fully saturated, and it isn't. Pretty miserable. As it is, down comes the factory, so Stanley can unlock some technology. And it's just going to be more gateways from our good friend Stanley. No choice of tech building yet. Warp gate is going to finish very soon. Oh, now comes the robo. Okay, so this is their choice of tech structure. They're going for the robo. We'll probably see some observers come out of this, and then we'll have to see where it goes from there. Maybe we'll see some more models, or maybe another structure will build, and we'll see some other stuff. Or maybe it will just be some sort of zealot warp-in. We'll have to see. Meanwhile, the tech lab coming down on the, where's the tech lab going? It's coming on the factory. Now, I have to ask why that's the first add-on. Why isn't this barracks got a reactor yet? Why isn't this barracks got a tech lab on it yet, so you can research stim and combat shield? Well, you know, instead of, you know, just building this is good, so you can pump out a tank, but it's not good when the building's idle, and it's especially not good when these things don't have add-ons. Now comes a tech lab for the barracks, and this one's still going to be add-onless. Looks like a tank is on its way. Still an army supply lead for the Terran, but that can change quite quickly now that Warp Gate's online. That being said, it's not being used, and the minerals are there for Will, so you have to wonder what is causing this delay for Will. You know, and why, again, your mineral line isn't fully saturated either. These really should be fully saturated mineral lines. Like, come on. Like, it's not good. Maintain that. Anywho, so Looks as though Will putting down some pylons to avoid a supply block. And it also looks as though that in Terran land, the tank is going to siege up down here. I would have liked to see a tank go like here. Yeah, that would have been nice. Here's fine, but this is a lot stronger. It's going to take the tank a lot harder to get. And yeah, we're going to see the Twilight cancel. With this point of check option, I think, and I did see a warp prism produced. I think what we're going to see, and the observer's now coming out to this part of the Terran army. Now, there's no orbital command, which you should have, Stanley. You should have at least 2 by now. So you can't scan this, and you can't kill it. The only way you're going to be able to kill this if you put down a missile turret. So that's unfortunate. So Stanley is going to be scouted, and Will's going to get all the information they need. As it is, Will is putting down a lot of gateways now, and cancelling that one. And with it, a Twilight cancel. I imagine this is going to be charged. That's going to be researched from this. And we're going to see a charge lot push. Or maybe. But we're going to have to see, given that all they built so far is Stalkers. The army supply is in favour of Stanley, but they're not doing anything with all the Marines they've built. And they could have had a lot more Marines and then won the game with this army if they had put a reactor on this first barracks. You know? Or a reactor on this barracks. Instead, they're supply blocked. Combat shield is in production. Once that finishes, you know, these Marines will be a bit more tanky, but again, if against Protoss, you want to research Stim first. You only research Combat Shield first against other Terran players. This is a rule of thumb. As it is, yep, here comes a charge lot. Here comes a charge, as I expected. We're also going to see an Immortal and a Templar archive, so it looks as though that some Templars are going to be produced out of these warp gates, which is going to be pretty exciting. The army just sort of doing the rounds, so just having a little move. And yeah, the observer has seen quite literally everything there is to see. Look at that. That's brilliant, isn't it? Yeah, so again, if you had an orbital command, you could scan, and if, you know, that would have been pretty nice, wouldn't it? Or you could have built missile turrets at some point if you wanted to go that route. But make sure you get orbital commands. Speaking of which, it looks as though you're finally building an orbital command! 7 minutes into the game. Okay, I don't know what happened there. Also, another thing to make sure you do next time is don't let these guys be idle, please. That's not good. Idle workers make me sad, and they should make you sad too. Like, look at this guy. What's he doing? Look at him. He's like flexing or something. I don't know. So, army supply now roughly even, and that's going to be because there's no reactors in sight for the Terran, so they can't keep up with the Protoss being able to warp gate, you know? Another base coming down for the Terran, which I like, but, you know, you're not spending the money you do have, Stanley. Neither are you, Will, to be fair. Both of you are banking up quite a lot of minerals, and you've got to ask yourself why. If you can't spend it fast enough, build more production centers. That's what you need to know. Really. And now the army supply is creeping in favor of the Protoss due to the fact they have a lot of warp gates, and now comes the Forge with some upgrades, while the Terran still has no reactors in any of their structures, and could probably do with building some more structures, build some more barracks, or... yeah, okay, you're going to do that now. But again, reactors will help a lot, so please put anything that doesn't currently have a production structure on it, currently have an add-on on it, just put a reactor down, please. That would really help you. Meanwhile, Archons are in production for the Protoss, and now the army supply is looking very, very healthy for them. Out we go with this squad of charge lots, Stalkers, 1 Warp Prism, Immortals, and Archons. The variety pack of Protoss units, but I think it should be enough. Production has stopped for Stanley, which, no, you want to produce off the back of this. Down comes a gateway. That's nice. And Stim now in production. If this attack hits before Stim, it's going to be very, very messy indeed. If it hits after Stim, I'm not sure. But before Stim, this is going to be pretty rough, I think. This base is almost certainly going to fall. I don't see how it could possibly survive. Yeah, that expand just goes. And this army's already going to feel quite confident now. They have all the parts go flying into the top of the ocean. This observer sees the army. They probably don't want to be marching into the line of 8 billion siege tanks. Why are none of them up here? Why are they all here? So they're going to have to think of something to deal with that. And thankfully, they have a warp prism. So using this warp prism, they could just bring some units, you know, over here and go around this, and hopefully that's what Will is going to do. As it is, some starports coming down, so hopefully some new tech for the Terran, as opposed to just, God, this fucking ball of siege tanks. If you had Storm and just dropped it here, oh my goodness gracious. The problem, of course, is getting a Templar in there, but, you know, use a Warp Prism, you can get stuff in here. The only thing in production for the Protoss now are 4 Stargates and some workers. What are the Stargates for? I guess you're going to build some more unit. I don't see why you're not just building more, you know, more of this stuff and just getting it in with a Warp Prism. There's no anti-air other than Marines. Like, there's nothing stopping you right now from doing that. And you should know this. You have basically scouted everything with the Observer. But this, I will say, this Observer positioning, so you can catch and move out, that's brilliant. That's good job, Will. I really like your Observer positioning here. Another Immortal in production against 6 Marines. This could be like 12 Marines if you had reactors. Like, come on. Come on. You would have a much bigger army. Okay, out some stuff's going to go, and it looks as though some of the charge are going to rush in. And most of them are going to get blasted by siege tank fire. If you look at the units lost tab, oh. 8 SCVs gone, but 10 Zealots just ran to their death. Yikes. That was not a very nice exchange. Okay, so a fleet beacon coming down. So it looks as though it's probably going to be carriers coming down for the Protoss player. A bit of a golden armada going along. And down comes the scan. And if you're the Terran, you see Templar archives. You see this robo. You see a bunch of warp gates. So you should know roughly what to expect from your opponent. You've seen almost everything, but crucially, you haven't seen this. So you don't know that there are a bunch of void rays. Now, okay, look, I thought you were going to go right into carriers out for this fleet beacon. You certainly have a bank to support a bit for a little bit, but you should probably build more bases if you want to build carriers, though. Like, base here. Yeah, okay, good, on the other base, but these void rays are not the pick here. They are very, very bad against Marines. Void rays suck against Marines. So, and there's a lot of Marines here. They'll be good against siege tanks, though, because siege tanks can't shoot up. So there's that, I guess. I guess you're building the void rays to get the... Okay, why are you building Tempests as well? I guess that's also for that. Building air units when they have a bunch of siege tanks is good, but I would have liked to have seen carriers, personally. Tempests, I guess, you know, that's fine too, I suppose. Here come the void rays, and, yeah. There's going to be terrible against the Marines, so as long as the Marines are here, getting into these siege tanks with the void rays is going to be basically impossible. Out comes the first couple medevacs of the game. Please, you would have a winning army by now, Stanley, if you just had built reactors. You'd have so many more Marines right now. You'd probably be at capped supply and would just be able to kill your opponent, who isn't capped, but they will be capped very, very soon. Like, the army supplies are now very big for both sides. But, you know... Again, the Terran could have been way ahead if they just built some reactors on this building. You're killing me with this. Come on, that's like basic stuff. It's a pretty unfortunate thing to, you know, if you lose this game because of that, it's going to be pretty unfortunate, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, it's hard to say who's going to win at this stage. Upgrades, I mean, the only upgrades are Stim and Combat Shield and Charge. There's no, like, +1 or anything, which, pretty suspect at this stage. Look at the army supply for the Terran. It is enormous. Like, ooh, that's a lot of army. I'm not sure if the Protoss... I mean, if the Protoss plays well, they can fight this, but, you know, they have to do pretty hard. But as it is, the tanks are unsieged, which is good for the Protoss. However, there's just so much Terran here. These tanks are absolutely nailing the ground army, and it just evaporates to these Marines. And with it, the air army's gonna go, and is that gonna be the game? I think it might be soon. Like, this is a massively good engagement for the Terran. The Protoss also sort of walked in, which is not advisable. What the Protoss should have done is played a bit more intelligently, you know? A Warp Prism going in here with some units that have been good. Try and flank them like that. Stuff like that, you know? This is unfortunate. what even happened here. And this army's now come into the main base, which is a good timing by Stanley. They've seen their army, the Protoss army, just evaporate, so now they're going to go attack, because they think, well, there can't be much at home, and that's right, there isn't going to be much at home. So out comes the Terran army. There's even a Thor here, and more Thors in production back at home. StanleyR is nearly supply capped, and yeah. Here comes some Protoss army, and it's going to catch the Terran army a bit unawares, but it's much smaller than the Terran, so I imagine the Terran will have very little trouble dispatching of this. As it is, that is seemingly what's happening, but it is getting split up and poked at, which is not particularly great. These Stalkers going to come out, but again, there's just more Terran than there is Protoss. Neither side producing much off of the back of these attacks, which is not great. You want to make sure your macro's still going, even after an attack. And now the Terran army is sort of walking, trying to get through a wall they can't get. They're going to kill the pylon. You need to kill this stuff, really. You need to turn... Why are you walking past this? You need to kill it. Or it's just going to get your tanks for free. That would be a good way to lose the game. But no, you're just going right for the throat instead of, you know, killing the things that are shooting you. Kill these things. Buildings don't shoot. Tempests shoot. You know? Fight back, please. Stim up, fight back. Also, there are no medevacs. That's a bit suspect as well. But because of this, the Terran is getting a lot less damage done than they should. Because, you know, a lot of it's just sort of dying to these Tempests, which are currently just not being shot at. There goes one Tempest, and it looks as though now the Marines are going to turn around. But at this stage, it is hard to say if it is really, you know, you've gotten a lot as the Terran, but you should have gotten so much more. You should have gotten so much more. The Protoss is producing nothing, despite having 6,900 minerals in the bank. Well, that is not great. You could warp in about 50,000 zealots right now, but you're not doing it. You're just watching these Marines shoot at you, which is miserable. So despite the sloppy play from the Terran there, not shooting the things that were shooting at them, they are going to just have the sheer army size after that bad engagement from the Protoss to win the game here and there. There goes a Marine flying up to the surface of the ocean, and I think with it, the game will follow very, very shortly. Because while there's a lot coming back up to the fight the Protoss right now, these buildings are going to fall eventually, and this Tempest isn't going to last very long at all. I really think you probably should have considered building some carriers, but, you know, that's just what I think, you know? What do I know? Looks like some replacement structures being warped in over there, but I'm not sure. I think it's too late. You have exactly one army supply, and that's not going to do you any good when there's this many Marines on the map. So very sloppy engagements from both sides, but, you know, and also, again, production. Terran, this could have been so much faster, Stanley, if you just had remembered that reactors are an add-on that exists. But it doesn't seem like it's going to matter, and it looks like you're going to take the game anyway. If I'm the Protoss, I'm tapping out at this point. Where are these probes going? No one knows. The main base is going to fall. The Protoss are going to throw in the towel, and we're going to have a Terran victory. Again, sloppy engagements on both sides, but at the end of the day, the Terran army is just a little bit bigger. It's 1-0 to Stanley. GG.